do you think, I'm Israel, you're the Palestinians in Gaza. If every one of the people in Gaza laid down the arms and stopped attacking, what would Israel, do to you?
It's a good question.
Nothing. They've tried it 5 different times. They've literally stop attacking. Israel has never, not one time in history, initiated any conflict. Every single one of those things that you're pointing to is a retaliatory attack by a terrorist organization. But if that was switched, where Israel, you, Hamas in Gaza, I take all of my arms and all of my protection and I laid them down, what would Hamas do? They would kill every single one of us. That's what they do. That's what they're sworn to do. That's their motto and the origin of their existence, all the way back to the Grand Mufti traveling to Hitler to ask, how do we solve the Jewish problem? Like, you want to follow from the Hamas to the Muslim Brotherhood, all the way back to the Grand Mufti, to Mujahideen, and you see the origins of one thing, which is, how do I solve the Jewish problem, is to eradicate and kill them. That is what Hamas came from. Not the Palestinians, not those poor people stuck in Gaza. But in that problem, if all of Hamas just went away, we would have peace. If they laid down their arms and they stopped murdering innocent civilians and raping women and killing babies, you'd have peace. If the other side laid down their arms, they would all be murdered.
I have one question before you get into this. The guy from New York, it was in-person debate. And was he wearing, what was on his shirt? Was he wearing a Theodore Herzl t-shirt?
Yes, that was a portrait of Theodore Herzl, the founder.
Okay.
The person who's usually described as the founder of modern Zionism. It's hard to respond to statements like that because they're so demented, so divorced from reality, that one doesn't really know where to begin. It starts with Hamas, goes back to the Mufti of Jerusalem, Muslim Brotherhood, and it's just gibberish. So let's just look at the basic facts. Hamas participated in democratic elections in 2006. Those elections were effectively imposed by the U.S. government. For your younger viewers whose memories don't go back to 2006, that's when George Bush Jr. was president, and he was engaged in what was called at the time democracy promotion. And one of his showcases of democracy promotion was the call for Palestinian elections in the occupied Palestinian territories. Hamas reversed itself because earlier it wouldn't participate in what it considered illegitimate elections. It decided to participate, and surprise to itself, it won the elections because the governing authority in the Palestinian occupied territories, the Palestinian Authority it's called, was then and today, until today, remains very corrupt. So they were voted out of office, the Palestinian Authority, and Hamas was voted into office. What happened? Well, the elections, according to Jimmy Carter, former US president, were completely honest and fair. And immediately as these completely honest and fair elections resulted in a Hamas victory, Israel, followed by the EU and the US, imposed these devastating economic sanctions on Gaza, which ground its economy to a halt. That's where, so to speak, all the troubles began. And in the past 20 years, Israel has controlled who goes in, who goes out of Gaza. It controls what goes in, what goes out of Gaza. About half the population over the past 20 years has suffered from what the international humanitarian organizations call extreme food insecurity. About half the population of Gaza is unemployed. Among youth, it's about 60%. It has the highest population, highest unemployment rate of any area in the world. Half the population of Gaza comprises children. So when you hear about Gaza, you have to bear in mind of those 2.3 million people living in Gaza, half are children. 70% are refugees from the first Arab-Israeli war and the descendants of refugees. So for the young people who broke through the gates of Gaza on October 7th, most of them, probably almost all of them, had been born into that situation I just described. Now, if you take all the separate facts about Gaza and you put them together, I didn't mention that Gaza is among the most densely populated places on God's earth. I didn't mention that Gaza is only 25 miles long. It's shorter than the marathon and about 5 miles wide. If you take all these facts together, the former British Prime Minister, conservative British Prime Minister David Cameron, he described Gaza as an open-air prison. A senior official in the Israeli government, he was a senior official in 2004, and he continues to be a very influential figure in Israeli life, in Israeli intelligence and military life. His name is Giora, Giora, Eiland, Eiland. Giora Eiland, already in 2004, before the blockade, he described Gaza as, quote, a huge concentration camp. So those folks who burst through the gates of Gaza on October 7th, nearly all of them had been born into that huge concentration camp or open-air prison. So all of this stuff that this guy talks about, if the people put down their arms, Hamas would kill them, it's just a flaming imbecile. And it would be kind of funny, to tell you the truth, were it not for the fact that, apart from what I just described in Gaza, I left out that periodically, every few years, usually on the order of 2 years, every few years, Israel goes into Gaza to what it calls mow the lawn. It's going to mow the lawn. So what is this lawn? I said there are 2,300,000 people living in Gaza, of whom 1,100,000 blades of grass on this lawn, 1,150,000 blades of grass. They're children. So when you hear mow the lawn, you have to bear in mind that it's the heads of children that are being mowed. And I'm not going to go through the statistics now. There was 2008 to 9 Operation Cast Lead. Hundreds of kids were killed. 2012 Operation Pillar of Defense. 2014 Operation Protective Edge. 550 kids were killed. In the current round, since October 7th, more children have been killed. More children were killed in 3 weeks than every other war zone in the world combined, be it the year 2020, 2021, 2022. That number is going to soar now because, among other things, Israel is systematically targeting the medical infrastructure in Gaza. It's attacked several hospitals already, and right now it's beginning, so to speak, the final solution to Gaza, because it's attacking Al Shifa Hospital, which is the biggest hospital in Gaza.